All right, here we are live from the Graffiti 2 basement, sitting here with Clifford Dickson. It's good to see you today, Clifford.
Good to see you too.
Want to look and investigate a little bit, learn a little bit about what your life has been in the past few years with your career, with your faith. And so why don't you just first tell us a little bit about your initial interest in performance? Where and when did that begin?
Well, it started when I was about like 3 years old.
Okay.
Like I remember me watching commercials, or because back then we had like tapes and stuff. So my mom would like tape things for me, and then I would like rewind them and watch them over. And like my mom would have me fast forward the commercials so I can just get to my program. And I used to just like let the commercials play, and I used to like pause them, like repeat them, then play it again, and then do the same thing. And my mom like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Mom, I want to do that." She's like, "What?" She's like, "Mom, I want to do that. I want to be on TV. Like, I want people to see me. Like, I want to do that." And she's like, "Oh, okay." So, as a child, my mom wanted to be an actress too. So she decided, like, I didn't really do anything with it. I should really do something with this. So she took me to my first acting class. And I was 3 years old, almost 4, and I was really, really nervous. Like, I remember me going there, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, just because I wasn't comfortable, like, familiar with the person. But then, after a while, I got familiar with my acting coach, and I only wanted to be with her. Mm-hmm. And then I got to about 4 or 5, and she wanted me to go with a group of kids, do like an acting course, a group of kids. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do not want to do this. I want to be with you. I want to do this. So I got with kids, and I actually liked it, interacting with them and feeding off of their energy and things like that. And that's when I decided, like, I wanted to be an actor, like, for real. And singing wise, I didn't decide I wanted to be a singer until I was like 6. Like, singing for me, I usually sing around the house. It wasn't no really big deal. My grandma was like, to my mom, "He sings so good. Oh my gosh, he sings so good," and things like that. And my mom was like, "Oh please!" Like, I'm singing Barney around the house and just singing little teeny bopper stuff. And my mom was like, "Okay, whatever." So then, in my acting class, we had like this showcase that we always do every year. And I was like, "Mom, I want to sing." And she's like, "Really?" And my acting coach was like, "Let him do it. He's a cute little kid. Let's let him do it. It'll be fun." So I sang "Our Destiny to Be King." And my mom was like, "Oh my gosh." My acting coach was like, "Do you know you sing like that?" She's like, "No." And then she's like, he should audition for The Lion King when he gets older. And my mom was like, "Okay." So that's basically how I started off. And wait, before that, I was about 2 years old. That's when I started dance class. Like, that's my first thing. Like,
wow.
Yeah, at 2 years old, I was in ballet class, jazz, contemporary, and things like that. So a lot of people get confused, like, oh, he's an actor or singer first, but I started with dancing first. Like,
you're a triple threat.
Yeah.
I've always known you to have a great imagination, and I'm picturing you right now as a kid putting on shows for your family. Am I picturing the right thing?
Yeah. Getting on their nerves and just wearing random things and just sliding on the floor from a big finish and just singing around the house, annoying my grandmother's guests and stuff like that.
Okay. Now, you mentioned The Lion King, and I recall the first time that you really, I think I'd seen you before, maybe met some of your family before, but the first time that you really stuck out and was shining to me was I went to your PS30 Lion King production. And now I have to ask a question. I've always wondered this. Had you already auditioned for the Broadway show?
Yeah, I was 10. I auditioned when I was 8.
Okay.
At that time, I was 10.
Okay, so you had auditioned when you were 8, and were you waiting to hear back from? What's that process? First, describe. And we'll come back to PS30 here in a second. What's the process of auditioning for the Lion King?
For the Lion King, okay, I was 8 years old, and my mom, she got the call from, like, a radio station. It wasn't really a call, but she was listening to the radio and something of that nature, and she found out where the Lion King audition was going to be, and she's like, and she came up again from what my acting coach said. She's like, "You should audition for this." And I was supposed to be 9 years old, but I was 8, so I decided to go anyways. And I remember it was so cold outside, and the line would wrap around blocks. Like, it was an open call, and like forever for me to even start moving.
Mhm.
It was a really long process, even in the line. And then when I finally got in there, I remember it was this big room. It was this big, like, black room, completely black, really bright lights. And I'm going in there, and then we sign our name and things like that. I didn't even have an agent at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they give us a sticker where they have our number on it. And I'm going in there, we're like in the circle, and we're singing "I Just Came to Be King," like each different phrases, all of us. I remember singing stuff like that and feeling really good around other people who did the same thing I did. And coming out, and they're like, "We really like him, but he's too short. He has a really amazing voice, but he's too short. Try to come back later on." I was so depressed.
Okay.
I felt like I was only 8 years old, but I was so dramatic. I felt like it was the end of the world. My career is over before it even started.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Mom, she's like, you gonna audition again? You're gonna get it." I'm like, "Mom, please don't say that. I'm not gonna get it. It's over. It's over. I'm not good anything." So then I remember a couple months gone by, and they're like, "Hello, do you remember us from Lion King audition?" They're like, my mom's like, "Yeah." And then it's like, "How tall is Clifford?" She said, "I don't know," because she wasn't really measuring me. She's like, "I don't know." She's like, "Can I get back to you on that?" She's like, "Okay." So she measured me, took out the measuring tape. It's like, he's so and so. He's like, "Okay, we'll call you back in like 5 to 6 months." My mom was just saying, like, 5 to 6 months, like, what does that mean? And she's like, "Okay." So that went on for 2 years, calling us back. And my mom, like, by that time, my mom was on a first name basis with the lady.
Okay.
And she was like, "Okay," my mom already had my height on the refrigerator and things like that. And she's like, "Okay." So I remember me being 10 years old. This was actually after the Lion King play in school. It was
Okay.
summer. And
So when you did the Lion King play in the school, you knew, I mean, you
yeah,
knew that forwards and backwards.
when I found
And-
out that they were doing the Lion King play in my school, I was like, "I got this in the bag." I was saying to myself, I was like,
What was so funny to me is, you know, it was a typical school production,
Mhm.
little kids coming out and singing and doing their thing. Then all of a sudden you shot out on stage, and I'm just like, whoa! It was, you know, it was professional quality, and
Yeah.
especially next to all the other kids, it was just really amazing to watch you.
yeah, it was weird. I remember people come up to me afterwards, like, even saying to my grandmother, like they didn't know that she was my grandmother, and they're like, "Where did he come from? Like, did they hire him or something?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, he goes to school here." They're like, "Really?" And like when I found out that they were doing the Lion King play in the school, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going for this." And they had an audition. I remember the audition was in the library in the school, and we all sat down in the chairs and on the rug area. That's where we were come out and audition for the librarian who was the director for the play. And I sang "Love" by Nat King Cole, LVE, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, will you marry me?" And she was joking, of course, but I was so laughing. Everybody was like, "Oh my gosh!" And she took me around the teachers' classrooms and made me sing for every single person.
Wow.
And I remember she was like, "Oh my gosh," and like she auditioned other people, but the next day I found out I got the part.
Yeah.
Like they called my teacher like, "Oh, can you come to the library?" And she's like, "Okay, you got the part. Here's your script,"
Yeah.
things like that. But she never, like, I was that person who I never talk about my career whatsoever, because I got picked on. And a lot of times, if I did say something about my career, people think, "Oh no, you're not. You're lying."
Yeah.
So I kept that a secret. They never even knew I was even auditioning for the real production. No one even knew that. A lot of people didn't even know that I was actually in this business for real.